Hey guys, it's me Rebecca. So this will be the start of another weekly vlog, and so far today I've just done some work on my laptop. I just really edited my previous videos, scheduled it and whatnot, and oh my word, I don't know what was going on with my hair. That's probably the most, I guess, disheveled I've ever looked, and I don't know why sometimes on camera I look so horrible, because I look in the mirror before I film and my hair looks normal, so yeah. Yeah. And I've also done some laundry. I just washed the curtains in most of my parents' house, and yeah, that's gonna be taken care of today. Because typically my mother would iron them dry to make sure there's no wrinkles, and I'll be dealing with that. And I'll be doing that later in a bit, really. And yeah, and I have also done some reading, and if you saw my last video, you would have seen I was reading A Labyrinth of Spirits, and yesterday I stopped on page 200, and I've done some reading today, and I'm on page 302, and when I'm this intrigued and enjoying it, I mean, I do enjoy the occasional procedural, like the police trying to solve a case related. I don't know. I always enjoyed it, and we see, and we also get like personal touches from them of what's going on in their personal lives, or I guess their own demons. Because what I read today, we do learn something about Vargas, who, when Leandro wasn't sure how Alicia would take it and what she would think of him. And so far, like, we're not really getting like her confronting Vargas about this. My God, why do I want to see this? And I'm curious if that will happen. And we did get like Alicia is kind of, I don't know, very much intrigued about a book that Vows was hiding in his desk, and she's wondering if it's somehow related to the case, and she is on medication for the pain from her hip, and she's not supposed to be drinking alcohol with it, and yet that she does that, and somehow someone gets into her apartment and steals the book, and I'm wondering if it is something related to this agent that was working with Leandro, who worked for Leandro, who was out on a case. He would check in every now and then, but then he just disappeared from the face of the earth, so I'm wondering if he's somehow involved. It seems like that is what she thinks as well, and we do also continue to get some of Val's perspective of whatever dungeon he's being held in, how he has, oh my God, I can visualize this word in my head, I can see it, I just don't know how to pronounce it. Gangamine? It's his arm, his hand was turning black, like it was this, that part of his body was slowly dying, and he was given a saw by his prisoners, and he cuts off his own hand when he's in so much agony and pain, and he's not in his right mind. And then that stump is covered in tar, and I'm like, who are these people? What are their goals? He continues to think it might be David Martin, but who knows if Martin's actually involved, if he's still alive, if he's dead. We don't know what is going on. And we also have Vargas and Alicia kind of talk to a lawyer who represents someone who is a collector of that author's books, and this lawyer is a familiar face, I would say, who is also involved in this, and somehow with this CEO of this big management group who had a car that they own, which was involved, and which was seen leaving the scene after Brian was seen talking to someone after Vargas and Alicia had talked to him, and yeah, Brian's our friend from the previous book is the lawyer. So yeah, I'm just enjoying how this is unfolding, and I'm curious on what happens next. And yeah, I think that's all for now. I hope for the rest of this video, I don't have to stop recording every now and then. I keep hitting the stop button because it's easier for me to edit versus me cutting, because I keep feeling like I'm about to sneeze. So yeah, I'm not mumbling, but so I'll go and I'll see you when I see you. So it's the next day, and I've done some work and whatnot, and I've also done a load of laundry, so that's good. And it is quite a dreary day and quite chilly, honestly. Like, I think it's only 60 something degrees, which after that heat wave is nice, but I don't know, from 90 to 60s, probably not good for the environment, like, in such short amount of days. But yeah, that's quite chilly right now. And I have done some reading of The Labyrinth of the Spirits, and I'm on page 392, and I'm definitely enjoying it still so far. We see Elias as she goes to Sunbury and Sons, the bookstore, the main bookstore in this series, how she's browsing and meets a young Jill and Daniel and B's son, who at this point is about 2-3 years old and is in his playpen. And she does meet B, and in a way, and B helps her like look around, not look around, but helps when Elias chooses a large selection of books to fill up her bookshelf back in her apartment. B helps her check her out, and we see Elias as she leaves, how she's full of this, I guess, envy in a sense, because apparently she and her family, they walked by this bookstore often when she was very little, which I would like to know some details about Elias's past, like Elias and her parents don't know if she knows when or if her father left, because her father like left to Venezuela, I believe it is, and there he was tortured and killed. So I would like to kind of get a better understanding of the timeline there, personally. But and Elias believes like if what had happened to her and her family hadn't happened, maybe she would be in B's shoes. Like, she would be working at this bookstore. She would be married to Daniel, who, from, I don't really know if there's an age gap between them, but it's like when Furman meets B, this is before he goes to prison, and Daniel was like 2 or 3, so when so we do see that, and we see how Elias and Vargas, they go into a storage unit that's oh my word, the lawyer keeps, Stefan is keeping his not equipment, but oh my god, his furniture until he moved a new office, and they find some papers there and whatnot, and Elias goes to meet with this journalist who's writing a piece about Matrix, who is the author of the book, and Elias gets the backstory of him, how during the war he was hired to write to ghostwrite the autobiography of the banker. Name I'm blinking on, but and if he doesn't, and I use quotation marks there because if he doesn't accept this offer, he and his family will be killed, and so will the lawyer's family, who's the same lawyer as earlier. And it seems like he did accept this, but then he was betrayed, or I don't really know what happened. But our good friend Romero came into scene, took him away, took his wife, not wife, his two daughters away, and left his wife to die. And we don't really know what happened there. Like, we kind of get an idea that Matrix was in the same prison as Furman and Martin during the war, and that he died, and there, and you know, but we just don't know exactly what happened. And it seems like Elias gets back to her apartment, and Leon goes there and give them some news and updates of the case of what's been going on. Apparently, it seems like the banker they met yesterday was being blackmailed by Rouse, who sell stocks that didn't exist, and we see how this banker is being interrogated, how he's trying to, it seems like he's denying that there was any stocks, and I'm not sure if it is this denial or if he's been the scapegoat, like trying to get Elias and Vargas off this case. So what's happening with Rouse is kind of like, it's almost seen as it's an open and shut case for them, but something tells me, because with this update they've been informed they're off the case, but something tells me they're going to investigate. So yeah, I'm curious about that, and about Elias's former colleague Limano, who seems to be 2 steps ahead of them. Like, Elias in Vargas, they're talking to everyone that he spoke to 2 weeks prior. So yeah, I am curious about that. And it seems like the lawyer and the banker, they were both nervous. It seems like they both were part of something they didn't want to be a part of, that they didn't have a choice to be part of. And I'm still curious on how this will all continue to unfold. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So I'll see you when I see you. So it's the next day, and so far I've done some work and whatnot, and I also had to go with my mom to drop off a car to the mechanics for service, and I also went with her, and she had to do some work and just played a bit in TJ Maxx and whatnot. And I did go to the library. I did get one book there, and it's The War of Storms by Canva. This is the second book in the Dandelion Dynasty. I read The Grace of Kings, which is book 1 a few months ago. Very much enjoyed it. I've been meaning to continue in the series, however, none of the bookstores near me have had like a copy, and I've not been able to find one secondhand. So, and I have done some reading of The Labyrinth of the Spirits. Find me on page 496, and still enjoying this. Things are starting to, I guess, ramp up, I would say, as we see how Elias and Vargas are taken off the case, like I think I mentioned yesterday, and Elias not sure what to do. Am I saying Elias? Alicia? I have no idea how to say this name. But she dolls up, and when Jensen knows to do and goes to watch some pre-family, and she gets closer to the bookstore when Julian, and this is so cute, Julian, who's like 3 years old, sees her and tries to get at her and almost runs out of the door, which you can imagine his parents are not very much happy with, but about that. And she's invited to have dinner with them as they're celebrating the Elder Summer Breeze birthday, and there she meets Furman again. And Furman doesn't exactly trust her in this Daniel to help him in his game. It seems as well both B and Furman's wife Bermuda aren't exactly fans of her in the sense they are worried about her taking their husband's way. When she leaves, Daniel and Furman follow her, where she meets Vargas and Alicia. They go to Matic's house, and when they're in a basement, there's a pool, and there they find the body of Lominia, who's the person who kind of just disappeared while on a case, and it seems like he's not the one who's 2 steps ahead of them, but I mean maybe he was, and he saw something that he shouldn't have, but he wasn't the one who snuck into Alicia's apartment and took the book. And Vargas goes with his police friends to the morgue for the autopsy, and it turns out no one from the police force sent the person who said he was tailing Vargas and Alicia because of the police force. Apparently there's no one by that name in the police force, and it turns out this person is working for some sort of master who promised him goodness, and he plans to kill Vargas and rape Alicia before killing her. And this person's this, I don't know, the fantasies he has apparently done something like Vargas or Alicia thinks they are not over their heads, but they are arrogant, they don't take care of their bodies. Like he's like, oh, I don't drink, I'm so perfect, sort of thing. So I'm curious on where that goes, because they seem to have figured out what the numbers meant and how it's related to death and birth certificates. So why those numbers were being sent to Vows, who knows? And Vows, it seems like he's still alive, and even for the police force thinks he's dead. So I'm curious what's going on with that and whatnot. And so far, I'm still liking it. And yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and so far I've just done some work and whatnot, and I did go for a walk, and thankfully it is definitely warmer than it was yesterday. And I have done some reading of The Labyrinth of the Spirits premiere on page 606, and things are starting to happen, I would say. Like, we've been trying to solve a mystery, trying to figure out like what's been going on, who's been after Vows, like where he went and whatnot, and it seems like Vargas was able to figure out what the numbers that Vargas was being sent meant. With went to the civil registry office where they told him they kind of correspond with birth certificates and death certificates, and it seems like on the same day and same time someone wrote a birth certificate and someone wrote a death certificate. Like, bit of a coincidence for it to be exact same time and whatnot, and apparently someone was issuing them who didn't really have the right to issue them or the ability to serve them really. And unfortunately Vargas is killed in his apartment by someone who who said they were someone they were not, and this person tries to go after Alicia, who is able to save herself, and attacks them, and they get a call, and it's someone Alicia thought she was supposed to trust, And she's just coming to a bunch of realizations, and when she was confronted this person, it was in her apartment, and that was after they attacked her, tried to rape her and kill her, and Bernardo, he calls Furman and Daniel. They take her to the hospital, put her under a false name, and they know someone will try to finish the job, and they're somehow able to get her out of there. That escape plan we do get from Alicia's perspective, where she's just so out of it due to the anesthesia, and it seems like someone, like, they almost didn't make it, and they take her to the cemetery of forgotten books where she is healing, and one line she deals with Furman's ridiculousness, and she and B, like, they're not good friends. They're never gonna be close friends. B has made it clear that Alicia heals and she gets the hell out of their life. But they do get along, being only two women in this group of men. But also, B sees Alicia at her most physically naked state, in her most vulnerable state, and doesn't seem like she's not disgusted or horrified by Alicia's wounds, especially that scar under her hip from falling from a building during a bomb. There's, I guess, a kinship between the two that's quite intriguing, and we kind of see what the policeman Haidina, I believe his name is Haidina, how he was able to falsify Val's stuff so no one will think to be looking for him. It seems like the police are on his side, and Leandro is working for him, so no one will be looking for Val's, which I'm still curious about their ultimate goal is with him. Like, they've kind of uncovered most aspects of his crimes, but I'm guessing they want to uncover everything. But what would the point be if they've already killed him in the eyes of the public? Like, you come out with this information and ruin his legacy? Or I'm just curious on that. And some of the information that they've been able to dig up on him is that involving Matix's children, how they basically sold them to the banker and his wife, and Val's kept the other one, and kind of to start their own family. But it's also like, not like this thing, oh my word, what is that word? But it's like, there's a specific word I'm thinking of, but for some reason it's escaping. Not agency, but it's like, basically, if these families talk, they will be destroyed. Like, there was everything, they'll be in a huge amount of trouble for buying these girls to keep as daughters for their own family, because the banker and his wife, the wife didn't really want to destroy her figure by having children, but she liked the idea of them, or at least having nannies raise them. And with Vows, because of his wife's health issues, they weren't able to have children, and it seems like one of the girls was taught to forget everything about her past, while the other, it seems like, this doesn't remember her past. And we do learn who the woman at the beginning of the book who kept going to Mercedes school, who she actually was to Mercedes. And yeah, and it seems like Haidina and Leandro, they're just trying to dig up this information and maybe ultimately kill one of them. Or I'm still like unsure of what is going on and what the goal is. Yeah, it seems like, why not, because of Alicia's status, like, I guess a silver civil servant, someone who's not officially a police officer, because of the fact she doesn't have an official title. They're using her as a scapegoat almost, and saying, oh, she's this dangerous criminal who killed a police officer, Vargas, and other crimes. So I don't know, I'm still curious about Leandro and if he was involved in this the entire time, like why he set Alicia and Vargas on this hunt or allowed them to be, or if he only really did it because of the official police in Madrid who don't know like what Heidina and Leandro's been up to. So still a lot of questions I'm curious of learning the answers for, so yeah. And I think that's all for now, so see you next. So it's the next day, and so far I've just done some work and whatnot, and I also had to go out today just to run a couple of errands. Just did a bit of my grocery shopping and whatnot, and I did go for a walk in a park nearby. I just wasn't really in the mood to film today, so yeah. And I have done some reading of The Labyrinth of the Spirits Premium, page 696. I do think I'll be doing some more reading today, but so far things are amping up. It seems like with Leandro, him talking with one of the girls who were taken from Matrix and his family and given a new identity, it seems like he is trying to learn everything he can about her adopted feels the incorrect word, but her new family, including her husband, who he had some rumors confirmed and whatnot. And this girl, there was like maybe a handful of months she was missing, and he wants to really get the bottom of the story of where she was and who she was with, and he just can also get that full story. And that's really, I guess, once he got everything he wanted from her, he was preparing her to die, and he tells her and her sister will be reunited, and she knows they're gonna kill her. Like, she escapes and goes to her sister, who doesn't recognize her, definitely doesn't remember her, and we see what happened to Val's house after he left, after his death was announced, how people came, took things away, how the servants left, how basically Val's wife was just left to die, had her equipment taken. We see how the two sisters are reunited, and I'm a bit scared on where that goes. And with Handia, we see how he's following the doctor who's treating Alicia, and this doctor makes the mistake of closing his practice every night at the same time, and going somewhere, and it seems like it's just allowed Handia to follow him to the Cemetery of Forgotten Books, where he was able to get in, and we have a bit of a cat and mouse game where he's chasing Alicia, and Alicia is able to outsmart him because the Cemetery of Forgotten Books, it's not like one level, it's like it's multiple layers that goes up and up and up, and he's on the top of this, what he describes as a labyrinth, and she's able to hurt him and then push him off the top of the labyrinth to the bottom, and he dies from that fall. So yeah, we see how she is able to get away, how she just leaves. And something about this is that I wish we kind of explored more is the caretaker of the cemetery of forgotten books, a man named Isaac, he had a daughter who died, and he blames the death on, oh my, I think it's Julian Carcass, like the author from the first book, who wanted to burn all of his books. And Alicia reminds Isaac of his daughter, and it seems like he, by taking care of her and by giving her his daughter's things, it was almost like he was replacing his daughter with her, with Alicia. And Alicia just tells him, like, she's not his daughter. And I would have liked to gotten that perspective, just because, like, what was going through his mind and how he was feeling about that whole situation, because I did find that quite interesting. Like, he's lonely. Like, it seems like it's most of the time it's just him in this cemetery of forgotten books, in this labyrinth of so many books. Who, I do have to say, for some reason, Alice in Wonderland and Paradise Lost are down there, which I don't think they're forgotten books, but I guess it's this editions. People might not know if I don't know, but I did find it quite funny. Not funny, but I'm like not sure what that's about. You would have gotten like that perspective, and we just see how everyone is aware that Alicia is this going to her death. Like, this is the last time they'll see her. They've all accepted that, and she does have Bernardo take Isabella's journal that they took from the lawyer and give it to Daniel, and we see how Alicia, she leaves Barcelona for Madrid. And where I got up to is she's about to confront Leandro. Wow, I cannot speak. Leandro in his suite at the hotel they were living in. So I'm quite interested in seeing where that goes. And with Isabella's journal, there were rumors, I guess, and suspicions about who Daniel's father was, and it is confirmed who his father is, and I'm not saying that, but we see how Isabella was this young girl who no one really understood, who no one really liked. Like, her parents did not seem big fans of her. She was always like this troublemaker, and they didn't like the fact that she read books that were not biblical. And you see, and she's just not ambitious, but she's, oh my god, there's we battle. It's like she doesn't want to do what is expected of her, and then she meets David Martin and becomes his apprentice, and along the way realizes she's falling in love with him, and the reason she became his apprentice in the first place is because she wanted to write. She wanted to be a writer, and eventually she realized that's the dream that's not happening, that she's just a lover of books. And we see how she helped David get out of Barcelona when people were after him because of what he was being accused of, how she met her husband, and we do learn something that I don't think was mentioned before. Again, I read the first book, The Shadow of the Wind, years ago, so I could probably have forgotten this detail or the detail that was just never mentioned. But right before the wedding between Isabella and her husband was supposed to take place, David comes into the picture again. She leaves with him, and they're together for a bit until he has to leave again. And we see Daniel, really, he gets rid of the journal, but I'm so curious in seeing how what he learned affected him. And we also learn, I forgot about this part completely, but we learn, so at the end of the previous book there was this angel figurine sitting on his mother's grave, and he falls, breaks, and now comes out of it, and it's like where to find vows, and we learn who put it there, and it's like, I guess they meant it as like a guardian angel, someone who always protect them and look out for them. But yeah, so I'm curious in seeing what actions Daniel takes, because all he says he got rid of the journal, he made sure it was burned, and we need to see, like, I don't know, we just see how Isabella, she knew she was dying, but these were her last words, and yeah, it was just something to document for herself, to remember herself, like, she never wanted anyone to read it, so, yeah, so I'm just really wondering still how this wraps up, I guess, so, yeah, I think that's all for now, so I'll see you when I see you. So it's the next day, and as you saw, I did go out today. I just had to do my grocery shopping and whatnot, and I swear one of these days I will properly like film me walking to the grocery store and going through there like a lot. Some influencers I do watch, but I think because it's like such a part of my routine, I'm like, this isn't interesting, or I don't think to record, so. And I also had to do an emissions test on my car, which thankfully didn't take too long. And yeah, since then, this morning and really today, I've done some more reading of The Labyrinth of the Spirits, and I just finished it just now. And I think overall, I'm gonna give this 4 stars. Like, I enjoyed it, especially the end. But we see Elias, she does get some answers, I guess, from Leandro on like why he did what he did, and I don't know, it's just that was my favorite thing. It is felt a bit stereotypical, like I like trying to change the way the government works, trying to make things better the way he thinks be better, and yeah, and she does kill him when he kind of makes it seem like he's gonna call someone to kill the entire Sunbury family, and everyone who knows what they know, who knows like what happened, and he doesn't do that. And then she does go back to the mansion, and one of the girls, Matrix's daughters, was able to beat her to it and reunite with her sister, and I would have liked to have gone a scene on how if one sister convinced the other sister to do this, or if she was forced, like, because it didn't seem when she discovers the sister's dead, when there's a gun anywhere, or I don't know, I would have liked that scene, because one of the sisters said they would be reunited with their parents, and the sister who she reunites with, she was very, from what we understand and what we're told by, was very devoted to him. Like he was the, what is the phrase, like a shining light, a shining star in her eyes, which would make sense considering he did isolate her, but yeah, we see how things wrap up with Alicia's story in a sense, like, she's done, like, she's gone, she's done everything she can, and everything she should, and she's just done, like, with Spain, really, and she decides to leave, go to America, and we have the scene of her saying goodbye to Furman, but she also wants the truth to come out, and she sends the reporter she was talking to earlier everything she knows. everything about children being taken from their parents during the war, and the parents either being murdered or thrown into prisons to what. And we also see how Daniel, when he gets the note where Vals is, how he goes there determined to kill him, but he sees how much Vals has, I guess, deteriorated, how he is the shadow of a man he used to be, because he's been kept in the dark so long. He thinks he has one hand, and he's incredibly thin. Like, he's lost his mind, and the only thing Daniel can really do is give this man his freedom, allow him to die outside these prison walls. And we do see how Vals dies, how because he has no identity card on him, they just throw him into a mass grave. And it happens to be the same mass grave close to where he was the guardian, I think the word is, of the prison, which I just found quite ironic, I guess. And yeah, that's really the end of this story. And really, we do jump forward in time, and we do get a new perspective, and it is from Daniel and B's son Julian, how he is determined to become a writer. He has so many ideas. We just really see him grow up, fall in love, get his heart broken, like this. A lot of teenage stuff until he decides, like, he wants to be a writer. He has this idea that's based off the life of his family. Really is the 4 books we are reading in this series, but he doesn't think he has the skills to become a writer, and he goes to seek out his parents' old friend Julian Corax, who no one has seen in years. Like, Julian goes all the way to Paris to find him, and it's not an easy task. Like, he meets up with so many editors and publishers and whatnot who knew Julian. And my favorite thing is one of the editors' name, not editors, but one of the translators' names, the English translator, it was quite similar, or I don't even know a name, translator of the series, which I was like, that's a nice touch. I don't know, I just like that for some reason. I just found it interesting. But he does find Julian on sitting at the grave of the woman he loved, who he realized he loved way too late. And the two just start working together. Like, Julian will write while Corax, I will continue saying Corax when I'm referring to Julian Corax, so it's not too confusing for me personally. Corax edits, and we see how Julian, he becomes, I would say, more confident in his writing, while at the same time also dealing with the fact, like, Corax will just rip him apart. Like, he thinks he made one mistake, he needs to edit one bit. Corax will find 15 different things to edit. Like, it's Julian kind of learning, I guess, the craft room. There is one that's like, you cannot really learn it. It's just something that you could just come to you, and we see how it comes to him, and how he continues to fall in love, and he continues to have his heart broken, and a relationship he had with a girl left him with his daughter, and that woman left him permanently. Like, she didn't really stick around, or didn't wanna, but yeah, we see how he talks to his family. Because he sent the manuscript to the editors and publisher in Paris, and a lot of people have offered him to publish it, and one of the things he promised himself if he was to get this published was to ask the permission of his family, his parents specifically. And he's got that. And really, the only person whose name he did not change was Furman, it seems like, which, oh my word. So yeah, we just really get we see the next generation of this family, and really finding yourself and finding, like, not in a coming of age, but really a coming of age sort of thing as well. But yeah, just finding your art, finding your craft, and yeah, overall I like this, and I'm gonna give it 4 stars. And I will talk about a book I plan to read next tomorrow, who I think I mentioned it in this vlog already when I got it from my library. But yeah. But I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and so far I've just done some cleaning and whatnot. I did a load of laundry and whatnot. And I also was able to cut the lawn in the fun yard. We had to get a new lawnmower, and by the time we figured out how to work it, and by the time I finished cutting the grass in the fun yard, it just got too hot. So tomorrow I have to do the backyard, which I don't really mind. But yeah, and I have also done some reading, and the book I started is the book I got at the library a few days ago, which is The Wall of Storms, which is the second book in the Dandelion Dynasty by Can Liu. The first book is The Grace of Kings. And with this, like, I'm not gonna really give this synopsis, I think. I probably should have read a synopsis, but considering this is book 2. But this takes place 6 years after the events of the first book, it seems. And I should say, I'm only on page 86. This update is a bit chaotic, but oh well. And where I'm at is, we start off in this pub where the storyteller is telling a story, kind of exaggerating details that's based off the events of the first book with Mata and Kuni. When someone who claims to be an official says he shouldn't be telling this sort of story, it's inappropriate, and tries to kind of get the guy off the hook by bribing this official. However, someone who's there to take this national examination calls the officials bullshit, essentially. And it's like, you're not an official, that's not the way, credentials and so forth and so forth. Like, this guy's a crook, he's a criminal and a thief, and he tries to take the purse of this individual. And unfortunately for him, the emperor's 3 children who's knocked out are there. Well, three of his children, and are able to stop him, but not before he throws the purse into a fire. And this individual is upset, the person whose purse was destroyed, because in order to enter the examination you need a pass, and her pass was in the purse. So she's upset, like she won't be able to take the examination. And we learn the, I guess, identity of this crook quite quickly. And he was someone who had fallen out of favor with the emperor due to the events of the first book, and kind of has to find a way to survive, and the way to survive is by pretending he's an official and kind of tricking people into trying to bribe him to be quiet and whatnot. And he runs into someone else who also fell out of favor. Sorry, felt like I was, who it's also a quirk who here's is like kind of having people believe in a religion or something, and kind of have to making people like almost their livelihood, like they'll be more in favor with him the more people they recruit, and the less people they're able to recruit, or if they're unable to recruit they fall out of favor. And it's like this mind control kind of like tricking them into, if they don't do what he says, it will look bad on them, that there will be the outsiders in this group. And it's like he just has these people dance for him, and he'll bring people towards him or back, and if anyone's not dancing, well, they'll dance because otherwise they'll look weird. So I didn't like that manipulation. No. And he thinks that the two, like it was fate that two would come together, and they come up with a plan to take down Kuni, who is emperor. And we see how the children, after kind of dealing with their tutor, who's upset with them for not doing what they're supposed to do and writing essays because they said something they shouldn't have, they're trying to devise a plan to help this person, this woman, get a pass so she can take the test, because they examine in this, and this is important to them, especially the oldest daughter of the four, and the only daughter of this, whose name is Thera. I don't think that's the correct pronunciation of that name, but because for her, she knows she'll never really be able to take the examination. Like, it's more like the idea is there, like theoretically she can take the test, but in actually taking it's impossible for her because of the fact she is a woman. That's one thing, but really she is the emperor's daughter, and everyone will think, oh, she's only taking this test, or she'll pass this test because her dad's the emperor. Like, no one is gonna fail her. And this is an exam that allows people to be in good positions in government and in business and whatnot, and she knows because of her position no one will listen to her, and the most she and the youngest sister will get is someone will marry her. Like, she doesn't really think like her father will put her in a position, even though he does say women should be able to work. It seems like he has the ideas, but it doesn't seem like for her there's a possibility. So it is important that this woman is able to get the pass to enter the exam, which is quite difficult because the passes are meant to be unique, and they're not easy to fake. Like, it's only the one who creates them who knows what's a real pass and what's a fake one. And we see how they're able to do it, and it seems like if word had gone out that this pass was faked, or the pass was given out of a bribe, essentially, the person who gave the pass would also be in a lot of trouble. And we see how the exam works, and oh my word, so I have to say, because I don't think I have even if I had the discipline for it, I don't think I would have survived it, because it's essentially an essay, but you have 3 days and maybe 2 nights to complete it. I don't know, you have to hand it in by sunset on a third night, and essentially you have to work on it all day, and you're stuck in these stalls. Like, you have food, you're given food, water, you have a chamber pot. Yeah, it is the ultimate test of discipline, because you see how people break, how they're not that they're able to, they're unable to, but it's just too much stress for them, essentially. And we see how a lot of people do break. And my favorite thing about this part of the exam is that it's not only how you write the answer, but you're given a smallish box, and you somehow have to fit the entire essay into this box properly. Like, it's also like it says on how to configure the answers to do so, and I just found that one quite interesting. And we also have this perspective of this girl who's called Mimi, who she lost her when he went out to look for a ship because of the previous emperor, or the emperor before the last one. And her two brothers went off to war and they never came back, so it's just her and her mother. And one night she is outside and she's struck by lightning, and it puts her in a coma, like messes up her face, and just like she still has her left leg, but she's unable to use it at all. And her mother tells her a tale about the gods, about how the 12 what was it called, the symbols or something, became the 12 symbols. And it was how each of the 12, I guess, cycles in the years are named, and by plant or an animal, and how they were created, how the gods played the game, and everything on Earth, and whoever could find them got something in return. And it's the last story with the god of war, how he's unable to see and how he hides, and how he is taught that he doesn't need sight purely. Like, he doesn't need to physically see. He can see by listening, by smelling, and I just found that quite interesting. So yeah, I'm just quite intrigued about this, and yeah, and I think that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you comment below, tell me what you've been up to recently. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel, and if you want to follow me on any social media, all those links are in the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time I post.